All right, here we are. We're back doing our podcast, recording our podcast, and I must say we've been pretty good. We've been disciplined so far, so good. It's a team effort. I think you
Team effort, definitely.
kept me on track. I've kind of sort of kept you on track. Even though once we start recording, we go all over the track, but we find our way, right? We find our way eventually, and I think that's what matters. This is the Mitch Johnson Show. I am your co-host, Bharat and I'm here as always with Mitch Chill Johnson himself.
Chill. I like what you did there. Was that on purpose or Mitch?
No, I
Chill?
mean, you were pretty chilled out, aren't you? Like, you.
Well, I get it's Mitch hell a lot. I get hell.
All
But
right. Right,
yeah,
right. I
so
haven't
more.
seen that side of you yet. I mean, I've seen it on the television back in the day, but I haven't seen that side of you. And speaking of many sides to Mitchell Johnson, we spent the last few weeks talking about the things that you've done since you hung up your boots and things that are still lined up, getting into the boxing ring and the MMA ring and all of that, and so many more things that I'm sure that you're going to indulge in over
Yep.
the next few months and years to come. But today I thought we'll go back to the very beginning. And I don't mean by the very beginning, right to the start of your life or your cricket career, but what I would like to call the first day of the rest of your life, which is pretty much the day you called it quits. You said, that's it for me. I'm not going to play cricket from this point on. You
Yep.
had announced your international cricket retirement. And I think we might bounce back and forth with the international retirement and your eventual retirement, which I think the two were 3 years apart. You retired from international cricket in 2015, and then in 2018, after after a few good years in the IPL and the BBL, you called it quits for good. But if I could take you back to the first day of the rest of your life, do you think it happens in 2018, or are we going back to 2015?
It probably goes back to even before 2015. I think it's like, for me, I was thinking about retirement probably a year before that, possibly, on and off. Definitely was in my mind about Test cricket, where I wanted to go with that. So it's definitely something you're thinking about throughout. There was a couple of tours there where you're just not sure. I remember the last tour I was on. It was against New Zealand, and we played at Brisbane. And I had a pretty good performance if you're looking at from the outside, but on the inside, wasn't that happy with it. I was just sort of, I don't know, it wasn't quite there. I was just thinking about probably retirement a little bit too much. The pink ball test was coming up, 2 tests after that, which was another concern for me because I felt like I didn't really want to play that. I just wanted to play Test cricket, normal Test cricket. So I mean, it does go back, probably 12 months, and you're having sort of thoughts here and there. And yeah, so when that decision sort of came, I came to, well, actually, before going to Perth, where I did retire, make that announcement, I'd spoken to Jess, my wife, about how I felt after that Brisbane test. And she's, was really positive because I'd said to her, look, I think I'm going to retire. She goes, oh, just keep going. Like, you're playing really well at the moment. Like, just keep enjoying it and all those things and putting the positive side to it. But I think deep down she knew that I wasn't, I was ready. I think she just wanted me to finish off that series and to be happy in that way. So, yeah, getting to Perth, and it was just right in the front of my mind, and it was quite hard to get it off my mind. I was, in the nets, and I think a few of the boys noticed that I was thinking quite a lot and that it was getting to that time. And you sort of drop hints here and there, I guess, without even knowing sometimes. But I remember Nathan Lyon saying to me before, I think it was before the test had started or during it, he goes, "You're not retiring." Like, he just said, "You're not going to retire," because he could just tell, I think. You play a lot together and you get to know each other quite well. And yeah, you could see he was quite concerned that he was going to lose me out of the test matches and retire from international cricket. And we had that sort of good bond going on. So I think it was day 3, maybe. I think I came out and spoke about it and said to Darren Lehman. I actually had a conversation with him and Steve Smith privately, and just said, "This is what I'm thinking. I'm going to retire after this Test match. I was going to retire from all forms of the game, because I felt like there was no point playing one-day cricket for the sake of it, or T20 cricket internationally for the sake of it. I just felt if I just retire from all formats, that'll make me happy. That's what I wanted to do." And Darren tried to convince me to play some more one-day cricket to finish off, and I almost fell for it. I almost fell for the plan, but I stuck to my guns in the end. And I thought, well, if I can't give 100%, there's no point playing. Even if I'm at 80%, that's not fair on guys coming through or my teammates. I just thought, yeah, you've got to give 100% when you're playing for your country, and that's just how I always felt. So, yeah, I sort of went and told the boys, and that was quite hard to do. And but at the same time, it was a huge relief as well, like just a huge weight off my shoulders, because I'd been thinking about it constantly for, it may have been weeks, and like I said, that lead up into it, 12 months of just popping into your mind when you're thinking about it. So it's just all that relief, and I actually enjoyed the rest of the match. Went out there and just thought I'll just end it the way I wanted to end it, bowl fast, bowl short, and just enjoy it, and got a couple of quick wickets at the end. We unfortunately didn't win the Test, which didn't bother me. It would have been nice to win that match, but ultimately I got to play the game that I loved and do it the way that I wanted to do and finish on my own terms.
And someday
Pretty long answer there, mate. So
no, it's the Mitch Johnson Show. People want to hear you talk. They hear enough of me anyway. Otherwise, so. And I'm sure someday we'll get into this Test match in particular, your final Test, your final international match, in greater detail. It was quite a fascinating Test match. A lot of runs were scored, and in a way, it was one of the flattest pitches we've ever seen in Test cricket in Australia or on Australian soil. So I'm sure we'll
definitely get into all that stuff. I think that's pretty important to talk about too.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, of course. I mean, the wickets in Australia, how they've changed, and what they do to fast bowlers. And
Yep.
Look, one quote of yours from your retirement press conference, or maybe just in the wake of you retiring, was how Dennis Lilly said you could have continued on for a few more years, and you could have done what he did in his career, breaking down the number of times he did, like cut your pace down and find other ways and other skills. And you are a very skillful bowler apart from your pace, but you had decided that till the time I can bowl fast, I'm doing this. But once I can't, like Brett Lee had said, you said, nah,
Yeah.
I'm done. So it was almost like your mission in a way, or your purpose to play cricket at that level had come to an end.
Yeah, I mean, there was so many things going on afterwards, and so many people saying, "Oh, why don't you try and get to the great DK Lilly's Test wickets at 355? You can do it, And I thought about it for a moment, and I was like, I've never been in the game to beat records or try for that kind of stuff. I just never had an interest in it. It's great to be up there as one of the most or the leading wicket takers to play for your country, but I've never been like that. It was always about the team. Ultimately, for me, I always put them first, and so that was my thinking on that. And as for playing for a couple more years, I mean, physically, I probably could have done that. Just mentally, like I'd made my decision. I think when you get to that point, you just know, and it's a lot of things that come with it. It's travel, it's being away from family, having a young family. Like I was about to have my second child, and Leo. He was born in March, so it was all those things, those factors that came into it. I sort of notice it now, being playing in the Legends League, the things that you don't miss about the game, and it's like the travel is one of the biggest ones. Just it's such a time waster. You get delayed at airports, you're sitting around, you're doing nothing. It's just days where you're wasting time. And so, yeah, all those factors come into it. I think it's more like physically, like I said, like you know, I always had issues with my back. I had 4 stress fractures. I had one that never healed properly, so I'd always get a little bit of pain there. I managed that through my career, but it gets to a point where you just get over it a little bit, and niggles start to pop up. And I always wanted to finish my career and sort of have, knowing that I was going to have kids, I wanted to be able to be that dad that could play with their kids and not have too many issues. So I feel like I've got to that point in my life and my career at that time where I'd looked after myself, and I think it was those kind of things pop into your head and you think about all those things. So but mentally more so, yeah. I remember Brett Lee saying that when he retired, it was because, if he couldn't bowl fast, then he didn't want to play. And I sort of felt the same way. It's like that's a strength that we both had. It was bowling fast, having that intimidation factor. It's not to say that bowling 135, it could have done that and swung the ball, but I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much, to be honest. Got to bowl fast.
We could just call this podcast that. Yeah, got to bowl fast. The Mitch Johnson way. Hey, look, I'm glad you took that call. Here you are all these years later, and you are not just fit enough to be playing around with your kids, you're fit enough to be playing cricket at a semi-professional level. And look, you look like you haven't aged a day since you retired. So that's kudos to you. You maybe did take the call at the right time.
I did. I definitely did.
Yes.
It's funny because I do get people off the street saying, "Oh, you could be playing still." Like, it's like, well, no, it's a lot harder than you think. Like, it really is. Like, mentally, like, even before I had signed up for this Legends League, just as I signed up for the Legends League, sorry, I had a message come through to ask if I wanted to play in the Nepal League, which is a serious comp for them. It's another T20 comp around the world. So I respectfully went back and said that, look, I understand you've seen that I've signed on to the Legends League, but I'm not playing serious cricket. That was Legends League's a bit more it's semi-serious, but I was never going to be willing to train as much as the professional cricketers these days do. So those days are definitely gone, but it's nice when people do come up and talk to you and go, "Oh, you look fit enough to play still." But look, this is enough for me playing Legends League. It's serious enough, and like I said, it is good fun, and you get to play with some good old mates.
Yeah, and I think we've all learned that there are so many other interests that you already had and you have developed in the last few years since you retired, that cricket can still be a part of it, but there's so much more to discover. Yeah. And that's something which is, I guess, the most difficult aspect of, or it is the most difficult aspect of retirement to deal with, right? I was just thinking about it. We could just call this episode, we can sum it up in one word: transition. And you're transitioning in life all the time. I mean, all of us. You're a child, and then you become a teenager, and then an adult, and you're always adjusting till the very end, till it's all over. But transitioning for a sports person at the elite level, especially when it's a sport like cricket, where by your mid-30s, it's done, right? I mean, you were 36 when you called it quits. How do you, like, you're not really trained to make that transition, and only those of you who have done it can talk about it. We can kind of imagine it's not like an everyday job where you retire and you have whatever is left of your life. You have literally more than half your life left for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard one because you don't want to whinge about anything as well in this sort of period as well. And I've never been that type of person, but I guess it's just telling it how it is. It really is like a tough transition, and I'm still going through it now. Like I say, I don't think it sort of ends. It gets a little bit easier, I guess. You start to understand what path you're going on, and like I said, it does change from year to year. I mean, I thought I had it all set out to how I wanted it to be when I finished cricket. But yeah, you don't realise. I think the big thing is like that routine of a cricketer. Like I said, some of the things that you don't miss, you actually find that it's just part of your life, like the travel. You do so much travel, you just get used to it. You're living out of a suitcase. I used to live out of a suitcase when I go back home because I was just so used to it. There's so many different things. You just have that routine. Your day's planned out as a cricketer, as a sportsman or sportswoman. Your day is planned out. So I always say this, and it sounds so bad, but when it comes to diaries, like I don't know how to set my diary. Like I've never had to do it. It's always been done for me. And I know it sounds really bad, but that's the truth. And I think a lot of ex-cricketers do find it tough. And I haven't studied in anything. Cricket was everything. So I don't have a trade. You don't have anything to fall back on. But then you've got a lot of different opportunities as well. You've got a different pathway to a 9 to 5. I even looked at doing something like a 9 to 5 where I know I can't sit still. That's one of the other things. I can't be in one spot at the same time. So there's so many things that go on through your head. And I guess that's what, we've spoken about, the depression side of it. You start to sort of dwell on things and get into the negative side of things. And it's really, there's a lot that goes on in that transition. I know Mike Hussey talks about it, like, I think it was in an article a few years ago now, he was talking about, I think he was 7 years out of the game and he was still trying to find, what he really liked. I think he's a lot more set now. And I'm sort of finding that now. I'm starting to become a bit more settled in what I wanted to do and what I want to achieve. It's not until you sit down and actually write everything out on a calendar, what you have coming up, that you realize and see how much stuff you actually have on. A lot of it bases still around cricket for me. Before COVID, I was looking at doing commentary gigs in the IPL. So you have like a 2-month stint there and then do like an Australian one-day tour, whether it's, a 5-match series or 3-match series, whatever it is. Go to India, go to England, wherever. And then do the summer in Australia with radio. And that was my main part. And the rest sort of filters out after that. You've got like little speaking gigs here and there, a little bit of a coaching opportunity here and there. Get to fulfill some of the things that I never got to do when I was playing cricket. Like I said, like maybe this, the charity boxing match, which is, you make a lot of sacrifices as a cricketer. You can't do a lot of things. So I'm sort of making up for lost time in some ways. So there's all those things. And when you put it onto a calendar and look at it, you've got a lot going on. And then the main thing is actually having time with family. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I stopped playing cricket, was to spend that time with my young family. So I think we look at life, and when I grew up, it was your parents are all, they're working 9 to 5 and you don't see them too much. You see them on the weekends. So I sort of wanted to have more time with my kids. Not that there was anything wrong with what that is. That's just life. But I guess I've got an opportunity to, what's the word? My path is more focused around my family at the moment. And I've got that opportunity because I've done so well in the game. I've earned, financially, I've done well there, and I'm set myself up and family up, that I'm able to do the things that I want to do in some ways.
And I'm sure the podcast fits right up there on that calendar that you maintain. It's first
exactly.
thing, right on top. Yeah, that's good to know. I wish
it,
you had said it
don't
yourself.
Have to mention it, We're on the
maybe
podcast.
you don't even have to write it down. Yeah, maybe you don't even have to write it down. Wait, what 9 to 5 job did you consider? And like, did you start doing it at all? Did you know?
I guess it's not really a 9 to 5. It was. I looked at the fireys. I looked at becoming a fiery, and that was before I'd finished cricket. I've always had an interest, like I said, like the army when I was growing up. But like, I just thought, helping people in the fireys would be, pretty fulfilling, I think. I know a couple of fireys, so it's But I think after actually doing the SAS show, I don't know if I could do the crawl space stuff, being in tight spaces and that. So, but no, that was something that I definitely had interest in, and I'd spoken to one of the room attendants in Melbourne. Was recruiting, especially sportsmen, because they have an understanding of teamwork. Obviously, you have to go through all the course and do the tests and everything like that. But yeah, no, I've always found that fascinating.
And for our overseas listeners, a firey is a firefighter, right? And
Yeah.
in most parts of Australia or everywhere in Australia, it's a volunteer force, or there are volunteers.
There's volunteers. I guess that's another option. Do some volunteer work there, but yeah, I don't know. It's I don't really know. It's at the moment I'm happy with where I'm at. Don't need to flood myself with too much.
Yeah, no, you don't need to flood that calendar up. And I can totally see you on one of those firefighter calendars. I don't know whether it happens in Australia. It's a big deal in the US, right? Yeah. Why not, Mitch? Yeah, there you go. I'm sure that pays well as well. So make the most of it.
They make good money for charity on that one, I'm sure. I'm sure a few of the boys love doing it.
I know,
I
exactly.
got a few of the ladies on there as well. So
Yeah, for sure. No, I can see that. So, if I could take you back to the first day, like I said, the first day of the rest of your life,
yeah.
what does it look like? Is there a feeling of emptiness? I know there's relief that you don't have to do it anymore. In like and you're talking about a very, especially with fast bowling, a highly arduous task. It's one of the most physical tasks you can imagine in all of sport. So what is it like? A relief, emptiness?
Probably more relief for the first maybe month from memory. It's a bit hard to remember now. But yeah, probably that first month is like, oh, this is awesome. Like just like a big break. And then then it starts to get that emptiness. After that, you just start to realize, oh, this is for real now. Like, but I think what helped me a little bit at the start was playing T20 cricket, which was a really good idea. I think that's probably the biggest plus I've given T20 cricket, the biggest positive I've given T20 cricket. I don't normally talk it up too much, but coming out of the game, it actually gave me a slow release in some ways. It wasn't just a complete cut-off like some past players have had. So, it was quite nice just to play some T20 cricket twice a year and do it that way. But, yeah, in between that time, it was quite hard. Yeah, you sort of have that bit of emptiness, but I still was playing, so I was able to train and be around the boys still. But then after that, it's been ups and downs. Like I said, the routine side of things is quite tough, and it's just you have to be an adult, really. You have to grow up. I'm such a big kid on the inside, and I probably act like it on the outside as well. So you have to grow up. You're out of that team environment. It's funny because it's the guys that would come in, they'd be these younger guys that would be coming in the team, and I would always just think I'm the same age. I never saw anyone differently. I was just like everyone was just a part of a team, and we're all just boys just playing cricket and having fun. So yeah, you got to grow up and be an adult. I don't think I'll ever grow up, to be honest. But
Well, I mean, I'm sure the kids will make sure you grow up, or you can. It gives you a chance to be a child again in some ways.
yeah, well, when you embarrass your young kids at 6 and 9, and my 9-year-old's like gets embarrassed by me on certain things, so you start to realise that you're old.
Fair enough. I'm sure that happens quite a bit. And 9 is just the beginning, right? From what I hear, it gets worse from there.
I don't want to think about it day by day.
And growing up, I mean, it's something interesting, right? Like it's almost like your profession doesn't allow you to grow up, because it demands that you focus only on your task at hand, especially when you play cricket at that level or any sport at that level, where everything's done for you. And you've spoken about travel, like quite a bit now. Your travel is very different to a normal person's travel, right? You need to leave your bag out and it's done, but it also is you need to leave for the airport much earlier than just normal people. You don't need to check yourself in. I mean, I remember. I mean, even more challenging if you're an Indian cricketer. Everything gets done for you, right? I've spoken
Yeah.
to, I remember interviewing Pujara and his family in Nottingham when he was playing county cricket, and his wife telling me, "Oh, now finally Pujara knows what a supermarket looks like from the inside."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they have no experiences at all.
Yeah.
And I've heard even, people who, some legends of the game in Indian cricket, after they retired, not knowing what to do once they were in the airport, like not knowing how you check yourself in
Yeah.
or what you're supposed to do, because it's all done for you.
Yeah. I'm not that bad. I know how to check myself in, but I think there's a real issue with sports and celebrities and you said it there, like normal people. We're all normal people. I guess it's that pedestal thing, and you see it in India a lot. I think that's a real issue, and it's something that needs to stop. To be honest, look, you can get excited about sportsmen and people that you love to see. Like, I have no issue with that. I think you just have to be really careful not to. Yeah, it's the way you treat people. I think we all want to be treated like normal people. Like ultimately, like you might get the occasional one that likes the limelight, and loves to be put up on the pedestal, but I think it's quite a bad thing, and especially notice it more so when you finish, because you're not. Maybe for a short period, you're still on that pedestal, and depends on what you get into afterwards. You can still people hold you up like that, but yeah, I think it's quite dangerous, to be honest. And yeah, I think, like, from my point of view, I just wanted to be just like everyone else. I was just fortunate enough to be really good at cricket, so that's just how I see it. That's just my opinion on it. Everyone's views are probably different, but yeah, as for organisation again, like, yeah, I would struggle. Like, our travel is different, so going to India or going to New Zealand or going anywhere around the world it's much easier for us. We just jump on a plane. We're told where to go. You don't have to organise anything. You don't have those stresses. So I think that gets amplified afterwards. Like, I've noticed that now. Like, where I do get stressed about those things, my anxiety like definitely hits the roof if I haven't got my visa sorted or this or that, and I start to panic a little bit. But I just got to take that deep breath and just stay calm, and just realize it'll be okay. Just get all the paperwork done, and I've got help at home with my wife as well. But it's definitely very different. And even on tour, like, where I've had friends and family and people, fans say, "Oh, you're so lucky to be traveling the world and those things." And it's like, well, yeah, but and I get to go to some places that you'd probably never sort of think of traveling to for a holiday. But we don't get to do anything. We really don't. Like, we don't get out that much at all, especially in places like India, where it's you do get mobbed here. So it's quite difficult to go out. You can go out, you take security with you, but it's not as much fun. But yeah, it's not a typical sort of holiday for us. It's we're here for cricket. It's our work. So it is very different. It's not to say that we don't do anything, but you do spend a lot of time in your room or just at the hotel, because most of the time you are training or you've got something on. You've got a meeting. You've got treatment. You've got to look after the body. You don't want to do too many things that are strenuous as well, because if you've got a game coming up, you need to make sure you're hydrated and nice and relaxed. And so there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
It's fascinating. You are you're in that group where or you are part of that group of cricketers who wants to be a normal person, and not just now. I mean, even when you were playing, you wanted to be a normal person.
Yeah.
But in a strange way, you're never trained to be a normal person. You almost have to learn to be a normal person at 36.
Yeah.
So even though you might have all the privileges and the luxuries while you're playing the sport, people who aren't in that space are almost more settled in that sense, or more evolved, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. And the other thing is, I think the the more sort of talking about it, it's. I do say like it is nice sometimes. Like you do get recognised, or you do get like some benefits here and there, which is quite nice. But yeah, like I said, yeah, we're probably less. Yeah, we're still. That's why I say like I'm still like a kid. I feel like a kid because I am years behind. I feel like it. So, but anyway, what is normal as well?
Mm.
That's probably another chapter. But yeah, I don't know. I just find that I think now that I'm more out of the game, I've become a lot more normal. Just becoming a bit more myself. When you're playing, yeah, you definitely have to think about a lot of things like that you're doing, what you're up to, because you are being watched. Especially if you're in Australia, like if you've got a summer on in Australia, everyone knows summer is cricket. So you walk down the street, people like will say g'day to you, and there's that buzz around town. Wherever you're in Melbourne or Adelaide or Perth, there's definitely a buzz when the team's around. So yeah, you have to be more aware of what's going on. You can't play up too much. You can't be too much of a nuisance. So I think you do grow up in some ways when you're playing, but I think sometimes for me, like I felt like at times you're not yourself. You're actually trying to be that media person in the media, and you do put it on maybe a little bit more. If that makes sense.
Oh, I mean, I've seen you put it on when I was just covering it. I'm just kidding. No, you always came across as being natural. But I know what you mean. I think
Yeah.
everybody does. You're still while you're playing, you're still you're still a cricketer to start
Yeah.
with. It's
Well,
unfortunate in some ways, but
here's an example. I had this discussion with Jess a little while back now, and I said to her, I said, I feel like sometimes like I'm not me. I go out in the public, and then I feel like I've got this different persona. I've got to be a different person, and to a certain extent, I am, because you have people coming up, and you've always got to be friendly. You've always got to be nice and smiling, and it only takes that one time where you're not happy or something's happened, and you are grumpy, and someone comes up and says hello, and then they take that away with them, and it's a bad experience for them. And unfortunately, it looks bad for us as a person in the spotlight or in the has a profile. So that's the part that I struggled with a little bit. And I feel like sometimes, yeah, like I've even said that I feel like I'm two-faced in some ways. I guess is another way to put it, because I'm not necessarily always that nice, but because I played cricket, and I mean, generally you get good people that come up to you, but sometimes it's just a bit too much, and you don't want to deal with it, and but you just sort of have to, and you just sometimes I take that home with me, and it's it's not fair when I'm taking that kind of stuff home, when I've bottled things up, and so that's why I found that quite difficult. But I'm better with that now for sure.
I mean, so is it a case of constantly, like you said, that stress of having to play up that part? And look, in some ways, those of us who aren't in that position of privilege of power or the profile that you said, can be ourselves a lot more, right? Like if I'm having, I'm upset about something, I can show a face, and nobody's going to bother. But yeah, if you are, like you said, even if you're just having a meal in a restaurant with your family or with your mates, and someone walks up and asks for an autograph, you still have to very politely say no. You can't just chase them away, even if you want to.
Yeah, even though it's quite rude for someone to do that, like, because I know I'd never do that to anyone. So it's quite hard. I think I'm probably hard on myself as well with that kind of stuff. I've even said like certain things where I may have said something that to someone that may have been offensive, or I may have said it in a certain tone, and I've always thought about, maybe I shouldn't have said it that way, or so I've been like that before. And I mean, it still happens occasionally where you sort of think like that. But look, it's a funny one, because people see for me, I was a cricketer. People would see me, I'm a bowler. They saw that aggressive type of guy. And I guess when you meet them for the first time, they probably have an expectation of you. And you sort of don't want to spoil their expectations as well, I guess. I don't know. It's almost like you hear the stories of like people meeting their heroes and going, they wish they'd never met them. That type of thing. Maybe they got them on a bad day, or maybe they just didn't like them as a person, because ultimately, like, we all have different views, we have different ways of life. But like I said, because I was in the profile as a cricketer, that's how I'm seen. So, you know what I often get? I often get that, oh, geez, you're actually different than what I thought, because I always think I'm going to be like this nasty fast bowler. That's quite funny how people think that way. That's that perception. And like I said, that just goes to show that people watching me, that's how they see me, as that aggressive fast bowler with the big mustache.
Yeah.
So it's not until you meet me that I often get that comment like, oh, you're really like quietly spoken, or you're totally different. You're actually quite nice. Or I'm like, oh, thanks. I've always been nice. I'm just on the field very different.
It's almost like listening to you. I think it would be easier if you are a batter, especially. You can't be a fast bowler. A batter who's smiling all the time on the field, then you can just be that person. Right? It's easier to be that person when you are in the public eye and someone walks up to you and meets you as, looks up to you as a hero. For you, you have to be, like you said, you don't want to disappoint anyone. You don't want people to kind of walk up to you and want to meet Mitchell Johnson, the fiery fast bowler, and you're just standing there smiling and being nice. It's almost more difficult being you in that sense.
Yeah, and I think that's why maybe that was a part of the reason why I did that SAS show as well. Just thinking about it, you sort of have that perception that you're big and nasty and like gotta. So I sort of just thinking about it, just popped into my head. But maybe that's why I'm doing the charity boxing match as well, possibly. But I think some of those things are the things that I really want to do anyway. So, and challenge myself. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm only noticing there's a lot more, like being in India. There's a lot more people coming up and saying hello, and at the dinner table, and being in your face, and camera phones in your face, which is, I mean, if someone came up to you in the public and put a camera phone in your face, would you be annoyed or would you be happy? That's the thing. Like, some people like go, oh, just give them the photo. Like, it's like, well, yeah, when it's happening all the time, it gets a little bit too much. So, again, we're all just human. Yeah, no, it's not too bad in Australia, to be honest. We're given our space, and you get a look here and there, and you hear that's Mitch Johnson, or but I think my area where I live, people know that I'm pretty relaxed and happy. When they come up and say good day or anything like that, I'm okay with it. People know my local coffee shop.
You don't keep changing it. If you're in India, you would have had to. I mean, you cannot have a local coffee shop, because there would be 100,000 people standing outside the doors of that coffee shop the second time you go there. But here, at least, you don't have to keep constantly changing your coffee shop though, that people don't find out.
Well, actually, funnily enough, in Mumbai, playing for the Mumbai Indians, we used to go to a little crepe place called Suzette's, and it was just like 2 streets away in a little alleyway. And we used to go there, and we get looked after there, and they'd only a little small like cafe, and we didn't really get harassed there. It was quite good. It was one of the only places in India where it felt like we just go there. Occasionally get someone come in and want a photo, but that was okay. Like, yeah, we were pretty happy there. Get your crepe and your coffee and sit there for a couple of hours, just relax and talk rubbish.
I never thought you and I would have a place we both visited in Mumbai. So there you go. Because my office in India was next door to you guys. I mean, you guys were put up at the Trident. So yeah, so we used to go there as well. So
yeah,
it's good to know that.
Place, hey?
It is, yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
I didn't know you were headed there. So, okay, to everyone listening to us here in
Yeah, I used to
Australia
go
and
there and
India.
take your reservation, mate.
Knew
Used
it.
to-
Yeah, this is.
the perks, mate. I just
See,
no.
there you go. Yeah, you want to be a normal person. You say all these things. Well. No,
I
so,
actually
but-
tell you about. I remember going back. There's another story. I remember going back to Townsville, and it was with Jess, and I think we had the team. It must have been I don't know if it was the team or not. I can't remember, but we were back there anyway, and we're in a nightclub line, some friends and that, and we're at the back of the line. And I said, I'm not going up to the front. Like, I'll just wait in line like everyone else. And they had all these people going, what are you doing at the back of the line? Go up to the front. Like, you're Mitch Johnson. You play for Australia. You should be able to get in. Like, I said, no, it's all good. I'm happy to wait back here. And my wife's going, yeah, all right, we're going to go ask. So she went up and asked. Elle basically just said, like, you've got like Australian cricketer at the back of the line. And they said, I'll bring him up the front. Like, come in. So yeah, it was quite embarrassing. I don't like that, and Jess doesn't like that either. But she was just like, stuff it, might do it this time. And got our friends in, and friends were like, "Oh, how cool is that? We got like pushed in front of everyone." But yeah, like it was one of those things that, like I said, I just get embarrassed by those kind of things, and I said I didn't feel like I needed to go up to the front. I was happy to wait.
One-off, like a few times. I mean,
every
you
now
have
and then, it's not too bad, but
No,
I didn't expect it. That was the thing. I never expected to get those privileges. Like, you get lucky in some places. Some places were just like, you're just like everyone else, which is good.